Workaholics, and welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you a dedicated series review of The Age of Darkness by Aryan. The Age of Darkness is an epic fantasy series that consists of Battle Mage, Blood Mage, and Chaos Mage. This trilogy is a somewhat series of companion novels, since every book does follow on from the events of the previous book, but we are following different characters. They all also have a different sub-genre, so they are all epic fantasy, but within that they all have a different atmosphere, a different style of setting, and a different sub-genre. I have reason to believe that there are some people who dislike the fact that it is not a consistent, just standard trilogy with beginning, middle, end, that they are somewhat standalones that lead on from one another. But if you are looking for something that will freshen up the genre and give you something a bit more unusual, a different take on it, I think that this could be a series for you. The first book, Battle Mage, is your standard epic fantasy. However, one of the things that I absolutely love about this one is that this has almost the same setup as the last book in an epic fantasy series. In this one, we are following three different perspectives. We are following Balthus, who is a battle mage who is helping the people of this country despite the fact that they seem to hate his kind. The primary antagonist, the creator of this war, the force behind this war, is a battle mage himself, therefore leading the people to be suspicious of all battle mages and the power they wield. We are also following Vargas, who is a common foot soldier who is there to try and band together and rally together his people so that they can fight to live another day. And then we are following Talandra, who is the princess, and she is a spy master. She is a very invested person in the runnings of this country and is kind of the power behind the throne. Throughout this story, we have had many countries that have been at war, and they have been warring with this neighboring country, and finally they are coming to the doorstep of this country, and therefore most of this story is somewhat a siege narrative in which we are in this capital city that this enemy is trying to take over, and we are following as war is waged and social inclinations change and shift, the way that fear can react, and it is a very conclusive battle. It's not one of those that is like, oh, this is just the beginning. It is in some ways an ending. That's why this one very much feels like all of the epicness that you would get in a third book. I do think the character work was still well done, given that we basically only have this one book to have the level of emotional investment that you would normally get in a third book. I think that it was executed really well, and it's a military epic fantasy in all its glory. And I think the only downside for me is that I do think that the level of epicness means that we do get a little bit less character time with some of the characters. Balthus is probably the most well-rounded character in my opinion. I would have liked a little more time to get to know Talandra before the end of this book, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was an absolutely incredible experience, and I did not expect that I would be as emotionally invested in some of these characters in just one book. The second book, Blood Mage, takes a very different shift, and after the war that happened in book 1, we are now in a capital city. It is basically a crime fantasy. It's a murder mystery, dark undertone, a city with a dark underbelly of crime in which we have mob bosses and we have gambling, boxing, we have drugs, etc. And a series of murders have been happening, but they seem to have a magical element to them. And in this one, we are following, again, technically 4 perspectives, it says on the back, but we get an awful lot of another character that they feel like another perspective. But for the perspectives that we get on the back, we have Byrne, who is a detective, cop, whatever you want to call him in this world, a guardian of the peace, and he is the one that is tasked with investigating these murders. We have Frey, who is the son of Byrne's partner who passed away when the war was happening. Frey is he's essentially a medium. He has a magic skill and he is a medium. So Byrne then goes and recruits Frey to try and help him solve these murders, as they have this magical element to them. Then we are following Chos, who is a champion Aryan fighter. He's kind of in like underground fighting, and he is trying to stop turf war brewing in the underbelly, in the undercity. He is trying to make sure that a peaceful solution can come about, because obviously a turf war between very powerful mob bosses sows trouble for everyone. And then we are following Katia, who is a spy, and she is trying to understand what is going on in this city post-war. She has been stationed here so that she can report back to her queen, so that then she can try and ensure that a attempt on multiple royals' lives doesn't happen. You basically have several political figures that are going to be getting together to consolidate peace, and there are those that object to it, so they are worried about some threats that have been held against these political figures, and she's trying to investigate and stop this happening. This one has a very interesting mix of political fantasy from the perspective of Katia, especially buddy cop element that you have with and Frey, and then this criminal underbelly, this gangster movie style element that you get with Chaucer's perspective, which all come together so nicely. They intertwine really well. This is such a fantastic use of the subgenre. The ambience and atmosphere in here were absolutely incredible, because they have dank, dark, gritty, grim hopelessness, while at the same time you're really rooting for them and you hope that they can pull their way out of it, and I really liked that. So I think this is arguably my favorite of the trilogy, maybe just because I really bought into the vibes, because it still has the feel of epic fantasy, but it also has all of these additional influences that really come through in the writing. And the third and final book that we have in this trilogy is Chaos Mage. This one is a basically paranormal horror combined with epic fantasy. Yes, that combination is as good as it sounds. This one, we have a city under siege again, but this time they are besieged by the restless dead. Essentially, we have zombies. They're not quite zombies, but obviously the closest would be zombies. Just the undead are coming back to life, and they are besieging this city. We are following some characters that we have seen in the other books and how they deal with this. We also have a lot of discussions around the way that people fear magic now. A lot of that came up in Blood Mage, and then it's really consolidated in this one. And this one also then kind of leaves a backdoor open for the sequel series, which I do have a review coming for, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But this one, it was absolutely incredible because it really had some like horror elements to it. It was very atmospheric. You could almost expect jump scares, and you could also expect psychological horror, that like things are closing in, things are getting dark and creepy and scary, while also having this like epic fantasy siege narrative, this fight back, fight for your life kind of element to it, which I really loved. In this one, we are following three perspectives, well, at least according to the back, we're following three perspectives. We have Tammy, who is investigating solution to this kind of zombie apocalypse. Xana, who is basically someone who's trying to pay penance for her war crimes. She's someone who committed some horrible atrocities during the war, i.e. in book one. We don't see her in book one, but she needs to make up for that, so she is determined to save this city and as many lives as possible. And then we have Balthus, who is the titular battle mage from book one, trying to help save the day. So we have some interesting characters going on in this one. This is the one where arguably, though I really liked the characters, they're the ones I had least emotional investment in, but I was very curious about. But the plot in this one, and then like I said, the atmosphere, the way that I felt going through the streets of the city, or when there would be undead nearby. It's literally like when you're playing like Last of Us, or when you're playing a video game that, you know, you're not sure what could be round the next corner. And I really liked the vibe that this one set. And if you're looking for a series to read during fall, if you like something that's a bit like more atmospheric, then books 2 and 3 of this series will definitely give you those vibes. Fantastic seasonal read, fantastic epic fantasy series. I would highly recommend you check them out. I had a load of fun with them. I really liked that they each had this really different atmosphere and vibe to them, and the way that you could really immerse yourself in each book, and it have a really fresh start with each installment, I really appreciate it. So that's it for this review. Let me know if you have read any of these books or anything else by Stephen Aryan. Let me know what is your like favorite sounding subgenre of these three, like which one sounds the most interesting combination. And that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.